Here's a tight end next on the list I was pleasantly surprised with. Because I knew nothing about him until I watched this film.
Me also.
Cade Otton, tight end out of Washington.
I kept wanting to say Cade Cotton, but it's not. It's Cade Otton.
Yes, Otton. I like that. Otton.
My brain just kept putting a C there because of the first name.
6'5", 247 pounds. He's a big guy. 23 years old, 4 months. Ran a no 40 time. Almost said 4.48. There could be the combine.
Beast.
So this is somebody who only 70% of his 46 targets were deemed catchable in 2021.
Huh.
I saw that stat. I wish I didn't credit it.
That's no bueno.
But very good route runner. Got good separation. I thought for his route running, like he used his speed variance pretty well. You know what I mean? In his routes, he really got off the line pretty well. Had some pretty quick feet. Good short area bursts. Smooth route runner. What I came really impressed with was like, wow, he sinks his hips pretty good for a guy that size. Like,
he's got good.
This guy is like athletic for how big he is. He has good hands. He blocks pretty good. Not the fastest guy. Could play tougher for a side. Even though he's a big guy, like he could block better at times. He could play tougher in the middle of the field.
I felt like he gave good effort, and I'm not going to knock him too much on the blocking. I thought
he was a pretty good blocker.
I thought he was pretty good at
his blocking's well.
No,
you
said he sucked.
No, my last good note. Block's pretty good.
I just get.
When I say tougher, I didn't mean about blocking. I meant to say I was surprised about how easily he was to tackle for being 6'5", 250 pounds.
He offers nothing after the catch.
I agree with
nothing. His run after catch, like one time, they took one guy to tackle. I'm like, dude, you're 6'5", 250.
Yeah.
Like, what's the problem?
Where's
like,
the stiff arm, my man? Anything.
Because everything else is like for a size is like, wow, it's so impressive. And like the one thing that you think would become natural to him that would be impressive wasn't. So that was somewhat confusing to me. But overall, I came away, I was like, oh, I think this guy's like my tight end 3 or 4.
I do like him quite a bit. I was surprised as well. Obviously, you look at the stats this year, he's only in 8 games, but it was 28 catches, 250 yards, and only 1 touchdown. And there's a little bit of a story behind that. He did obviously have ankle surgery. That's what ended his year early. But there was a point in, I think, October where he missed a couple of games due to COVID as well. So, you combined COVID, some really bad quarterback play
very bad. Again, 70% of his 46 targets were deemed catchable.
And then obviously the season ending abruptly there in November, and that kind of leads, to the low numbers. But last year in only 4 games, he had 18 catches, 258 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he was on his way in a shortened season last year to kind of having a pretty good year. I mean, I hate to be the person that says, if you extrapolate 4 games over an entire year, because it's such a small sample size to extrapolate over a whole year. But I mean, those are pretty decent numbers if you do that. So I think he's got a lot of upside, and he does a lot of good things. There's not a lot to his game that you dislike. Obviously, it is the run after the catch type of stuff that kind of leaves you scratching your head a little bit. But I mean, if that's all, if the dude's getting open and he's getting some separation, he runs good routes. He's a serviceable blocker. I think that's enough to get on an NFL roster and start as a number 2 and kind of work your way up. And I think that's kind of where Cade Otton's probably going to settle in the NFL. And he could be a guy that if he's drafted in the right situation with an older tight end in front of him, like
Washington, Logan Thomas.
Harrison Bryant.
There we go. Perfect. Both of those. I was going to say, what's his name from Minnesota a couple of years ago, like a Kyle Rudolph type of situation when Irv Smith got drafted. Like if he gets drafted in one of those type of situations, then you see a path in a couple of years to him getting a starting job. He's definitely a guy that's going to perk up my attention in like the 3rd round of rookie drafts this year.
I think he's a pretty safe 3rd rounder for me regardless. Like I think he offers the upside to me unless he lands in a situation, but sometimes the situation can be deceiving. Like, when we love Dallas Goedert. We thought he was the best tight end. And obviously gets drafted behind Zach Ertz. Like, oh, no. And now you're like, oh, I should have taken Dallas Goedert pretty high. And I think
Dallas Goedert's a slightly different. That dude had tons of production.
Yeah,
and
he's
crazy
awesome.
Upside. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like these tight ends taking 2 to 3 years to develop as it is. It doesn't really matter who's in front of him because by the time that guy's contract's gonna be up and gone by the time he's ready to like flourish into his own anyway. So I'm with you, Matt. Like I saw enough tape on him to say I'm intrigued in the third round for sure on him. Like, I don't know what other. I know the receivers would probably be pretty diminished at that point in the third round. So I'm probably looking at like in a 1 QB league, like, do I want Desmond Ridder or do I want Cade Otton? Oh, give me Cade Otton. You know what I mean? The running backs are all going to go in the second round.
Yeah.
Or the top of the third at the latest. So if you're mid third round, I think this is a great. Like we were sitting in a weak class in the middle of third round. You're like, who do I go with? This is a great person to grab right here, Cade Otton. Jared, do you have anything to add on top of him?
I thought he was a pretty good route runner.
Yeah.
I'm watching his tape. Like I thought he did a good job of avoiding the defenders and making a guy think he's going one way and going the other. Find the soft spot in the zone. Obviously, he's not a guy that's going to separate versus man coverage. Not going to do a lot after the catch. I thought he had very good hands. So I'm with you guys. I think he's right in that tight end 3, tight end 4 conversation.
It's a good spot to be.
Yeah.
That high, I mean, obviously a weaker class, but still a nice prospect nonetheless when you find a position that late in the draft that you can get somebody that high upside.
After Dulcich and Trey McBride, I have a tier of 3 guys.
Yep.
4 guys, maybe. Jelani Woods works his way in there, but that's kind of how I feel.